part of that 50% security when we retire, to make sure that we have our pensions and it's affordable for us when we retire.
I think it's a great commentary, and I appreciate the observation. As trite as it might sound, that is precisely why we are undertaking the comprehensive plan review. Again, the perception is that change will necessarily mean takeaway. Change, as we look at this, could be benefit enhancements and could address things like mandatory coverage and other elements. Certainly, as we've said, the reason we're undertaking the comprehensive plan review is to ensure that it does remain sustainable, so that it is here when you retire. Two, that it is meaningful, that it provides benefits that are in fact meaningful to you, the right ones as we move through generations, and is affordable, recognizing that this is an expensive benefit and does reach into people's pockets quite considerably. So that is the sensitivity of the issue, and that is the intent of the plan review, to try and address all of the issues that you just mentioned.
Before we go to the next questioner here, has anything come in from the, nothing's come in from online? I did have two questions that have been submitted in advance. They both related to indexing, and in my view, they've been answered in responses to the questions that have been posed here. So I'm going to leave those, and I'll go to the lady here, please.
Thank you, George. My name is Ann Detzler. I'm a CUPE school board worker. 2017 was a strong year with the best results. These are real concrete facts. One actuary was commissioned to look at the future of OMERS and speculated declining membership in 20+ years, which could be a concern. Based on these speculations, OMERS SC board considers making plan changes to the guaranteed indexing in the best 5 years. How can one speculative report influence the SC board so negatively? But George, you also pointed out that the OC board also looks at this.
We do. So let me try to make the distinction as clearly as I can, as I'm able to. We own the risk of the fund, so we actually look at, hopefully, look at all things out there that are of a risk nature that could have an impact on OMERS, whether it's matters related to investments, whether it's matters related to pensions, whether it's matters related to administration. We've tried to cover all of those kinds of things this morning in one way or another. One of the things from our perspective that we see out there very clearly is a lot of disruption, if you will, in various markets. We undertook a study jointly with the Sponsors Corp this year. I call it the future of the city, but that having been said, others call it the future of work, others call it changes in the workplace environment. You can call it what you may. The point is, it's improbable with the type of disruption that is there. So whether it comes from technology, you know, the driverless car replacing a parking attendant, for example, which is a very real phenomenon taking place in jurisdictions around the world today, i.e. the car parks itself, it finds itself, etc. We're not in control of whether that will or will not happen, but it could happen, as an example. We need to understand what those trends are. We observe a movement towards part-time, different kinds of part-time work that is obviously very meaningful to people in this room, just judging from the questions that have been posed. We see those too. There's pardon the word, outsourcing that has been taking place by various employers. With the current structure that we have, unfortunately, we in many instances can't follow those workers to maintain them. The point being, the world we're living in right now is changing. So we undertook a review to try to get a better, much more comprehensive, much more future-looking consideration of these various factors, and also, quite frankly, to make sure we weren't missing something else. We did this work, and we presented it to the SC, although the SC did this work with us, it was done jointly, such that all of us would be in a better position to undertake the kinds of activities that we need to undertake in order to be responsive to the various plan members. I work for 482,000 plan members. So it's important, in my view, to see that issues that relate to them are properly understood, researched, and placed in front of decision makers. That's how the AC gets into it. The SC has a process which I think Paul has outlined pretty comprehensively and completely, where it is considering a wide range, a very wide range of possible changes, but placed in the context of the variables that he's identified. That's all this is all about at this moment. The intent here is to make sure that for all plan members, all considerations are taken into account, and the decisions that get made now, or alternatively, the environment in which decisions might get made in the future, is the appropriate one. Do you want to add to that?
Well, yes, and I understand your question. I will respectfully take a little issue with the view that this was a knee-jerk response to a singular report or review. The issues that Jonathan outlined, these headwinds that we've talked about, didn't emerge yesterday. These are things that have been on the radar with the AC, with the SC for 15 years. The issue is that we have been dealing with recovery under something that we had no control over, which was a massive meltdown in the market in 2008, and we have been working strategically to address that and to return to financial health, which through a lot of good work and a lot of hard work has been achieved. What we're doing now is finally in a position, recognizing that those headwinds have been with us for quite some time and are studied regularly by our colleagues at the AC and with support with external providers, is to say, okay, what can we do now to help again secure the future of the plan? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here, please.
Hi there, my name's Tanis. I'm from CUPE Local 79 in the City of Toronto. I just had a follow-up question to my sister from the libraries. This morning in your video presentation, there was information of there's a 7 to 11% increase year after year in terms of our profits. And we survived 2008, right? So at this point in time, I mean, the MI squared indexing is going to affect the younger generation, and that's my generation and beyond. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people in this room that are making decisions on that generation that probably won't be here to see the effects of that. And my question is, have you had a consultation process with that generation, the people that are going to affect them most? Because at this point in time, I believe that really the people in this room might not really understand what our perspective is, and quite frankly, it just doesn't seem as fair.
I'm going to leave the consultation piece to Paul to respond to. The 7 to 11 that you reference is a range that we target for investment returns. It has a direct relationship to the amount of risk that we choose to undertake for the plan in pursuing those investment returns. And the idea behind that is we could invest in much riskier assets and possibly exceed the 11% on one end more regularly. Similarly, in terms of getting to that 7%, it's set at a lower end that's in excess of our discount rate, and it causes us, quite frankly, to have an impact on how we determine an asset mix, the types of things that we'll invest in. It's there to, if you will, guide or frame what the activities that we undertake to try to drive a planned return each year. There's no guarantee that our returns are going to come between 7 and 11%. Frankly, if I could guarantee that, this conversation would be materially simpler. It's quite probable at some point in time that we'll have a couple of years where we don't get near 7%. I hope that never happens under my watch, but the reality is that type of outcome is going to be determined by world events, and the reality is when Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump have a conversation, they really don't care what OMERS thinks. And we have to be very much aware of that type of a circumstance. Do you want to talk to the consultation?
Great. I thank you very much for the comment, because I very much believe in engagement. This is the members' plan. We want to ensure that we understand what their needs are. The key to that, though, and I will point out, is that if we're going to have a dialogue, it needs to be an informed dialogue. So while we're happy to and really do request that you provide meaningful input to us, then it's important that you understand the implications of the discussions that we're having. So as long as we're comfortable to have the informed dialogue operating both ways, we're thrilled to have the discussions. We will, in fact, be running formal focus groups as we move forward.
please.
Good morning. Thank you very much for making yourself available for questions. My name is Greg Watkinson. I'm the Vice Chair for Paramedic Services, York Region. My questions got to do with the normal retirement age 60 for paramedics. It's my understanding this has been a perennial issue for the last decade. Seems to come up every year, seems to be denied every year. Considering that police and fire both have this provision, and paramedics have been asking for this for nearly 10 years, considering that our physical, cognitive, emotional demands of the job are very similar. There's documented gastrointestinal diseases, cardiovascular diseases, psychological illnesses that come with our work, and many of my colleagues are just limping towards the retirement line, barely able to function. I'm wondering, one, why is it that this has always been denied, and two, will you formally state that you're going to support this in this coming June?
It's all yours.
I can't categorically indicate why it has been denied historically. I have not been there during those discussions. What I do know is that it is firmly on the table as part of the comprehensive plan review and will come to the table as we move forward into the next discussions. So we did in fact look into this in more detail last year, and I think have a better understanding of the needs and expectations, and that will be brought to the board's attention as we move forward.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Venai Raniga. I work for CUPE. It seems as though the vast majority of comments that you've had thus far have been coming from a particular kind of member. They're young, they're marginalized, they work in precarious jobs. Many of them are people of color. When I look at your executive board, it's predominantly an old white man affair. So when you talk about communication, it doesn't seem as though you're